Hello, fellow gamers, and today we will be unraveling the Fortnite storyline, starting from Season 3 all the way to the point at where we are now. So, basically, what happens is there's a meteor that starts coming down to the Fortnite island. So, what that meteor is holding someone called the Visitor, and he's part of like a very special group called the Seven that we've really don't know much about. So basically, he breaks out of the meteor in season 4, and when he does, there's a rocket being made. So the meteor causes people to have all these like superpowers. And this causes people to make it causes people to it causes like the government starts trying to hide the existence of the superheroes. As such, they put like the movie outposts and whatever. But anyways, back to the Visitor. He takes over the villain rocket, and he uses it to go to where I'm assuming is his home planet or whatever. But yeah. So he goes to it, he uses the rocket and he escapes. And the rocket flies around, causing a bunch of cracks in the sky. And as that's all happening, all the cracks are in the sky, there's like this one big crack in the sky, and this is what will eventually create Kevin the Cube. I'm sure you guys have all heard of him. I'm sure you guys have heard of him, because I mean, he's been a big part of the Fortnite storyline in the Fortnite community. Like, he was around so long that the community gave him a name. And yeah, so he travels around the island leaving runes everywhere. And whenever he leaves runes around the island, the runes kind of like destroy the ground, sort of like, the ground gets like kind of like grass doesn't grow there, it gets all brownish. And so as they so yeah, so eventually it melts into the island. And as everything is happening, so it melts into the island, and then in season 6 we see that it comes out, like it takes the lake island, and whenever it takes the island up in the air, it causes it goes back around to the runes that it had created and sucks all the power, eventually leading it back to the lake. Then the timer begins for the live event. This live event gave us the first look at a very important part of the Fortnite storyline called the Gateway, known to us then as the Butterfly Dimension. I'm sure you can guess why. There was like a ton of like rift butterflies, and it was really clear, and there was like a hole in the middle, all that stuff. And when you came back, you saw that Kevin, when Kevin had exploded, all the shards had they were all over the island. So they go to the island. So we go back to the island, and then I'm trying to remember. I think it was season 6. The Ice King and his castle came. So season 6, the Ice King and his castle came, and like the whole polar peak thing, and Sergeant Winter, and then the polar peak starts to melt at the top, and that reveals the Infinity Blade, which was in the that was on the island for like 2 days, and then Epic vaulted it. However, it is in creative nowadays, if you ever want to get it. Let me just show you its destructive power on the structure over here. Ready? So you take it over here, and You take it over here, and I'm using low gravity, so obviously this wouldn't be realistic, but just watch what happens. Ready? Watch. Okay, I completely missed. Let me try that again. Okay. You know what? Let me just show you what it's like this. Look at this. Oh, come on. Did we seriously make builds indestructible? Oh my gosh. Okay, you get the point though. It was really overpowered. It destroyed builds really easily. It gave you, if you look, I have 200 health and it's building me up to 200 shield. So, really overpowered, so you can see why they took it out after like 2 days of it being in the meta. But anyways, back to the real storyline. but anyways, so back to the storyline. The Ice King like shows up in like a sphere, and I don't know whether this was like the entire community or just a guy that I watched, because his they called him Steve the Sphere in one of the videos, so I don't know whether that was a community made name or whatever, but yeah. So then he breaks out and he causes a whole big ice storm around the island, you know? So yeah, big ice storm happens, and we now are stuck with zombies again. Oh, did I forget to? Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention in season 6 when like Kevin was going through his whole what I'm gonna call Kevin meltdown. He got they were like cube monsters. Now these were not. I will repeat, not the things from Save the World. These were completely different creatures called cube monsters. And when the Ice King did his whole thing where he caused the giant snowstorm, when he made the huge snowstorm happen, we basically got ice versions of those cube monsters. So we have those cube monsters now, and then in season 8, I think. It's season 8. So in season 8, we see the monster. So the monster and the mech, or no, that's not the monster and the mech. A vault is revealed. And there's like this whole pirate versus ice versus lava. Oh yeah, and in season 7 there was this guy called the Prisoner, and from here on until we realize, and he is nowadays known as the Ice King, if I'm not mistaken, or not Ice King, the Fire King, if I'm not mistaken. But back when this was all new, his name was the Prisoner, because he was like in the Ice King's castle, whatever. Well, season 8 comes around. We have this whole pirate war between, well, not pirate war, but not specifically pirates per se, but like we have this war between pirates, ice people, they're the Ice King's forces, and the Fire King's forces. And as we move on, at the end of the season, there's this live event called the Vaulting Live Event, or the Unvaulting Live Event, or whatever. I can't remember exactly what it's called. But we go into this live event, and everyone gets to choose a new gun. And as you all know, they picked the drum gun, which honestly, don't hate. This is my personal opinion, but I would have loved for the planes to come back. But I know there's gonna be a lot of controversy around my decision, so moving on. We unvaulted, and after we come out of the vault, after we unvaulted it, the volcano erupts, it destroys Tilted, and it destroys Retail Row. So then, in season 9, we get the trailer of Jonesy, and we get the trailer with Jonesy, and we get the trailer we get a trailer with Jonesy and Peely going into like a giant bunker, because they narrowly avoid getting destroyed by the volcano. And so, as such, they're in there and they're playing arcade games and they're out having all this fun and all that stuff. And they just as like a comedic purposes to explain this to you, they realized there were only beans. Like there was only like a can. There was only like one can of beans, and so Bunker Jonesy picks up, just gets Peely, and well, turns him into a banana smoothie. So we see him in this like banana smoothie form, and then all that happens. And yeah, so moving on. This person, I think her name was Singularity. She comes in and comes to like she feels responsible because she was the guardian of the 0 point, so she feels responsible of what happened to the island. And so she feels very bad about what happened to the island, so she's trying to fix everything. She's trying to fix like everything that had happened and all that stuff. But yeah, so she's trying to fix that, and then she helps make Neo Tilted and Retail, so she turns Tilted Towers to Retail, or I can't speak. She turns Tilted Towers into Neo Tilted, and she turns the destroyed Retail Row into Mega Mall. So we're getting these new advancements. And then if anyone remembers, we had this eye in the Polar Peak Mountain, and he broke out at one point in season 9, so the inhabitants of the island start building the mech piece by piece together, and as they're building the mech together, it's kind of cool because we get to see it in like real time. It's not like it just doesn't poof right into like thin air, like right out of thin air. We actually get to see the pieces like put on, like the pieces poof out of thin air, but you get what I'm saying. So anyways, then the robot is completed and the timer starts for the live event. So then we go to probably one of my favorite live events that I've seen on YouTube. We go to the we get to see the fight between the mech and the monster, and the mech, if you can remember, the mech, like the monster keeps trying to get to the 0 point, and then the mech grabs the 0 point after the monster failed to get it. He grabs the 0 point and punches him back. Then he takes the Singularity statue and Tilted Towers and pulls the sword out of it, and he pulls the statue, and we get a giant sword. So all this is happening, and we get all that, and so the monster dies, blah blah blah, good defeats evil, yada yada yada. Not much else. But then season X, if you remember correctly, we see the 0 point kind of like, I don't want to say blows up, because then it gets like, then like time goes back to normal, but we see Jonesy just going through the time space continuum thing, kind of like he's going and going, like he's going through the whole space time continuum, blah blah blah. He sees all stuff from past, and he sees fused things, and boom, he goes back to our timeline, right under the meteor, right before it crashes. So we see the 0 point getting more and more unstable during the season, yada yada yada, and and once the countdown for the live event starts, the visitors come and unfreeze the rift. They rift the so yeah, they try to they kind of rift the the meteor, and they rift the meteor, and they unfreeze the meteor as it rifts. so that it glides into the 0 point, I think. I don't know. So they keep the 7 keep rifting into the 0 point. You want better information, watch a video on the live event, because I am not good at describing things. I just like to point that out, but I'm doing the best I can. But yeah, so they keep pounding into the thing, like they rift right before they hit it, but like you can see that it's damaging it. So then the thing breaks, and then the meteor comes and explodes well, I don't want to say explodes, but does something to the 0 point, maybe crush it. But anyways, so yeah, we get the black hole. We can't play Fortnite for 2 straight days, and yeah. So we go into the new season. We get to the new season, and then Chapter 2, Season 1 has begun. Okay, so now we don't have much info. We have to use loading screens to be able to understand what happens. Basically, this team called Ego goes to the island. We don't know who they were sent by. There's a theory that it was sent by IO, but we don't get to IO yet, so yeah. So we get into IO, so we don't get into IO. We get into the Ego. So they crash onto the island in a plane. They're doing all this. They're doing and then they realize it's like after all their like fun and games have been spoiled, because they realize that they have these other versions of themselves that are evil, and 8-Ball goes out to kill his other version, also known as Scratch. And I will go ahead and identify all the members of Ego for you. We have Ripley, Turk, Remedy, and 8-Ball. And then for Ego, or Alter, we have Riptide, which is the evil version of Turk. We have Sludge, which is the evil version of Ripley. We have Toxin, which is the evil version of Remedy. And we have Scratch, which is the evil version of 8-Ball. And then, as we see on the loading screen, Scratch and 8-Ball face off, and because we don't see 8-Ball ever again, and Scratch starts getting corrupted after Tier 100, we are safe to assume that Scratch killed 8-Ball, but something is happening to him because he killed his alternate self. So he starts getting corrupted, and he gets fully corrupted if you get to the high enough level. So anyways, yeah. So that's happening. So then you go into yeah. So Ego, I think Ego starts losing to Alter, and Chaos Agent is the leader of Alter. So anyways, we get into Midas. So Midas, oh, by the way, Midas has like this team of agents, and if you look in like where we saw the battle between Scratch and 8-Ball, the Bush Ranger can be seen collecting like intel and all that stuff. So they're doing that, and all this is happening. So we get we're sent into Chapter 2, Season 2. We have Midas, that is the leader of Ghost, the new renamed Alter, or not Alter. We have the renamed Ego, that is officially Ghost. We have the renamed Shadow, or renamed, oh my gosh, can't talk. We have the renamed Alter, which is now Shadow. So, Midas starts like telling his agents to play the double agent kind of role, so they get Ghost's trust, I think is how it goes. I think they get like Ghost's trust, they get Shadow's trust by like doing stuff like I think like letting them. I think the grotto was captured by Shadow. Anyways, we had multiple locations, and eventually all but 2 were taken by Shadow. The only two that were not taken by Shadow, what? Oh, except for the yacht. The yacht was taken by Deadpool, and there were still ghost henchmen on it. So I guess technically three. But moving on, we have we get then we get the after we have that. Now we have to do. So now we get. So the places that weren't captured by Shadow were the shark and the agency. So they weren't captured by Shadow. Actually, Ghost, I think, took the shark to have like a prison kind of deal. And so they have that stuff. And yeah, so they get into all that. They get into that deal. So they get into that deal. So moving on. We see the device event, which is and also the Travis Scott event, flawless. I loved it, but that's not the point. Um, we get the device event. And so when we get the device event, we get Midas trying to push back the storm because there's a thing called the loop, which the storm resets the loop every single time. It's like whenever the storm resets, like whenever the storm completes, that resets the loop. So Midas tries to push back the loop, and I honestly don't completely know what the whole point of it was. I've been like, that has always been shrouded in mystery for me. So I don't know. Leave it to Top 5 Gaming. But we go into we get to see John Jones, aka Agent Jonesy. So the first time he's talking to who I can guess is his superior, and who I'm gonna get, like, I'm guessing this was like his superior. He was talking about how like the loop wasn't right, the storm hadn't reset, so they place this wall of water after the device event fails. But before that happens, we get to see John Jones, and he asks, "Can you hear me?" So we get into that mess, and then when he asks all that, so now we're in Chapter 2, Season 3. Midas is eaten by a shark, and honestly, I think Fortnite just dropped the whole storyline here. We don't really have much storyline except for the fact that we have, I think, Shadow took over the agency, so now it turns into the Authority, and then, or as my friends like to call it, the Authority. But we have that. So then we had those pesky marauders, and to be honest, I hated them. But moving on. Basically, yeah, we have Kit who has his own AI and stuff like that. I'm trying to remember. Yeah, and then Ocean kept Ghost alive. But then in like season 4, they just completely dropped. I think they dropped the storyline altogether, I think. But so yeah, so they dropped I'm pretty sure they dropped the whole storyline altogether. And when they did that, they dropped the whole storyline altogether, and when they dropped the whole storyline, it turned into like a whole thing with like Marvel. So Marvel like comes in. Then we get into a whole thing like Stark Tower, like Tony Stark brings a whole chunk of New York to help try to stop Galactus. And Galactus was probably one of my favorite live events, probably. because we actually got to interfere with it and like fight Galactus ourselves. It's actually kind of fun. I had Death Star flashbacks. That's actually fun fact. The whole live event where we went up Galactus's suit, I think is what it was. I don't know. Like I said, leave it up to Top 5 Gaming. Whenever we were trying to fight Galactus, the one part where we're flying in like all the cracks is like a Star Wars reference when they were destroying the Death Star, like the first Death Star. So they destroy the first Death. Well, we destroy Galactus, yada yada yada, and we get and then we get like a panic John Jones who just wakes up. It goes on to where we get onto the island and he starts bringing in all these new bounty hunters. We get the first insight of who he brings in. So the first people, aka the battle pass skins, we get Mando, which honestly I was pretty excited about. And so I got pretty excited about that. Sorry, I had to respond to Mom. I had to respond to my mom. Anyways, we get into this whole thing with like John Jones bringing in new bounty hunters. So we have Mando, who's really excited about. We have Mancake, who's probably one of my favorites. We have Reese, who's like a cybernetic warrior. And then Mancake is like an old western dude made out of pancakes. We get I'm trying to think of the exact order. We got Maeve, who's like a shapeshifter, or as they call her in her dimension, a wild heart. And basically the gods gave her 3 forms, yada yada yada, shark, tail, or gave her shark, eagle, and no one lived to see her 3rd form. Spoiler alert, Medusa, yada yada yada. Then we have Condor, who's like a vengeful spirit. Then we get Lexa, who is Lexa is basically this I think she's a robot because like the armor just like manifests in thin air. I mean, I know Iron Man can do it, but regardless, we get into all this and the island. Oh yeah, and like the middle of the island is turned into this like barren desert with shards of some kind of like crystal sprouting out of the ground and all that. So all that is happening, and then there are these new shards that you can consume. You just zip, 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 zip. You zip all over the place. But yeah. So you do all that. So then, as all this is happening, John Jones brings in a new bounty hunter, and he is Kratos from God of War, which I will never show on this channel because this is a kid-friendly channel. God of War is like mature rated, I think. And so then after that, a little bit later, we get Master Chief, who's from Halo. I don't know whether I'm gonna record Halo or not, but moving on. Then as 2 new item shop skins, we get 2 people from The Walking Dead, which don't watch it, some zombie horror TV show thing. I'm not I don't know. Anyways, moving on. We go on to so we move on to nowadays where we think we're bringing in I think the secret skin is Predator. I mean, the evidence is really good. Like, the evidence supporting this theory is really high. Because we already have his mask. We have, like, the aiming canister things, I think. Maybe? I don't know. Then, like, I don't know. Like, it's been a while since I watched the movies. Don't ask. You're probably not allowed to watch them if you're a kid. I don't know. But, then we have the legit head of the Predator screaming with, like his mandibles, I think the evidence that supports the Predator being the secret skin is very high. But anyways, the 0 point's been getting more and more unstable all this time. But yeah, that's all I can really explain. So stay super, keep gaming. See you in the next one. Bye. Hello, fellow gamers. If you saw the cryptogram, then you would understand what this video most likely is. So, today we unravel the Fortnite storyline. So, our story begins at Season 3 when a meteor starts falling down to the Fortnite island, and eventually it'll hit, so when it